There was a time when these faces were everywhere. Pamela Anderson, the goddess of Malibu, Johnny Depp, the irresistible bad boy, Jane Fonda, a symbol of strength and timeless beauty. They weren't just celebrities, they were living legends, shaping the imagination of generations. They graced magazine covers, movie posters, and lived in the dreams of millions. But what happens when the spotlight fades? When time starts to take its toll? What remains after fame? Surgeries that changed faces, diagnoses that changed destinies, addictions, scandals, regrets, reinventions. Some disappeared from the public eye, others resurfaced. Different, more human, more real. Today we're going far beyond the perfect photos. We're uncovering the stories behind the red carpet smiles, the highs, the lows, the untold truths. Because this isn't just a video about fame, it's about humanity. It's about what happens when idols grow older and when they choose to fight, fall, and rise again. From Pamela Anderson to Elton John, this is a journey through glory, downfall, courage, and rebirth. Get ready to discover how time transformed these icons and how some of them faced battles that even fame couldn't protect them from. In 1989, Pamela Anderson was just another fan among thousands in a Canadian football stadium. But it only took a camera zooming in on her face on the big screen for everything to change. The crowd reacted instantly. Her captivating beauty and natural presence drew so much attention that, just days later, Playboy invited her for a photo shoot. It was the beginning of a transformation that would make her a global icon. Pamela quickly became one of the most photographed and talked about women on the planet. But it was in 1992, when she debuted as CJ Parker on Baywatch, that her name was permanently etched into pop culture. Running along the beaches of Malibu in her unmistakable red swimsuit with flowing blonde hair and magnetic confidence, Pamela became the ultimate symbol of 90s sensuality. Baywatch was a massive hit, broadcast in over 140 countries, with a weekly audience of more than 1 billion viewers. To many, she was the face of television in that era. But the price of fame was steep. The pressure to maintain a flawless image was constant and relentless. Pamela underwent several plastic surgeries over the years, especially breast procedures, which she had enhanced and later reduced. Every change in her appearance was scrutinized, discussed, and criticized. The media was unforgiving. What was a personal choice often became front-page news. And it wasn't just her body that suffered. Behind the scenes, Pamela was facing battles that went far beyond vanity. In the early 2000s, she publicly revealed that she had contracted hepatitis C, likely through a shared tattoo needle. The diagnosis was devastating, requiring long and debilitating treatments. During that time, her career slowed down, but she didn't give up. Instead of disappearing, Pamela used her platform to reinvent herself. She became a passionate animal rights activist, partnering with PETA and appearing in global campaigns. She also wrote books, participated in reality shows like Big Brother, and showed the world that she still had plenty to say and to do. In her own words, she once said that true beauty lies in accepting who you are, far from the unrealistic standards imposed by fame. Today, Pamela Anderson is much more than the blonde from Baywatch. She is a woman who faced the weight of fame, aged under the eyes of millions, and chose to transform it all into strength. Hers is the story of a living legend who, even far from the spotlight of the past, continues to inspire no longer in a red swimsuit, but with courage and authenticity. Johnny Depp has always been more than an actor. He was an enigma, with his melancholic gaze, raspy voice, and an irresistible aura of mystery. Depp captivated the world from his early days in 21 Jump Street back in the 80s, but he didn't want to be just another TV heartthrob. Johnny craved depth, strange characters, and pure artistry. And he got it. Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Pirates of the Caribbean, each role felt like a new reinvention. He was a chameleon, always escaping labels, creating characters as bizarre as they were brilliant. Alongside director Tim Burton, he formed one of modern cinema's most iconic duos. His portrayal of Jack Sparrow became a cultural phenomenon, and for a time, Depp was the highest-paid actor in Hollywood. But while his characters conquered the world, his personal life began to unravel. Johnny Depp never hid his bohemian side. A free spirit, he lived intense romances, collected tattoos, houses, guitars. But he also accumulated vices, pain, and deep emotional scars. Alcohol, drugs, and uncontrollable fame became constant presences in his life. Still, he seemed untouchable, a tortured genius, yet beloved. Everything changed when his life turned into a public courtroom. His tumultuous separation from Amber Heard, full of mutual abuse allegations, exposed a dark side the public wasn't prepared to see. Years of headlines, leaked recordings, trials, and humiliation followed. Johnny lost multi-million-dollar contracts, was removed from major film franchises, and watched his reputation sink almost as fast as his career. But unlike many, he didn't hide. He went to court, told his side, and faced one of the most widely followed trials of the decade. Millions watched every detail. And when the verdict came out in his favor, Johnny didn't celebrate with fanfare. Instead, he quietly appeared on stage at a music festival in England. Guitar in hand, a calm, almost tired expression, as if he knew that no legal victory could erase years of pain. Today, Johnny Depp is in a moment of quiet rebirth. He's still acting, now in smaller, independent films. He's still making music, his true passion since youth. He appears in public less often, but when he does, there's a different aura about him. The kind of presence that only someone who's lived through both paradise and hell can carry. Johnny Depp is proof that fame can be as cruel as it is generous. That characters may protect us, but also hide us. And that truth, whatever form it takes, always finds its way to the surface, even if it's covered in dust, wine, and tears. Jane Fonda is much more than a pretty face or a famous last name. She is a survivor, a woman who has crossed generations, reinvented herself countless times, and never feared exposure, whether on screen, in the streets, or in front of the world's cameras. Daughter of the legendary actor Henry Fonda, Jane could have lived in her father's shadow, but she carved her own path. She began in the 1960s as a symbol of charm and sensuality in films like Barbarella and Sunday in New York. Her beauty was undeniable, but it was her talent and sharp intellect that gave her lasting power. In no time, she shed the muse image and became one of Hollywood's most respected actresses, winning 2 Academy Awards for Best Actress. But while the world applauded her, Jane Fonda faced silent battles. She grew up amidst emotional coldness, dealt with her mother's suicide, and an unrelenting search for acceptance. For years, she struggled with eating disorders, body image issues, and the brutal pressure to be perfect as a woman, a daughter, and an actress. In the 1970s, Jane did something few would dare. She traded the security of a flourishing career for political activism. She protested the Vietnam War, stood up to the US government, was arrested, vilified, labeled. Her controversial visit to North Vietnam earned her decades of backlash. But she never backed down. She remained true to her convictions, even paying the highest price a star can pay: public hatred. When many believed her career was over, Jane reinvented herself again. In the 1980s, she became the face of the fitness movement with her aerobics videos, selling millions of copies and shaping a new generation of health-conscious women. Once again, she redefined what it meant to be a successful woman. Time went on, and Fonda kept evolving. She aged under the public eye, and unlike so many, she didn't hide. Yes, she underwent plastic surgery, something she openly admits, but she also faced cancer, multiple surgeries, and the inevitability of time with brutal honesty. In her 80s, she became a climate activist, getting arrested multiple times during protests, a true modern-day warrior. Today, Jane Fonda is not just a cinema legend. She's a symbol of resistance, of reinvention, of the courage to change, to fail, to try again. Her face, marked by the lines of time, does not tell a story of decline, but of a life fully lived with no fear of facing reality head-on. Jane Fonda reminds us that no matter how many times the world tries to define you, there is always room to begin again. And that true beauty is not found in eternal youth, but in a soul that refuses to give up. Elton John was never subtle. From the moment he emerged in the 1970s, wearing oversized glasses, glittering suits, and platform shoes, it was clear he wasn't there to blend in. But behind the eccentric costumes was something even more dazzling: an extraordinary talent. A virtuoso pianist, a sensitive songwriter, a powerful voice. Elton didn't just perform, he transcended. Together with lyricist Bernie Taupin, he created some of the most iconic songs of all time: Rocket Man, Tiny Dancer, Your Song, Candle in the Wind. Songs that crossed decades, continents, and hearts. Elton became a living legend, selling out stadiums, breaking records, and redefining what was possible for a pop artist. But like so many stars who shine too bright too soon, he also plunged deep into darkness. For years, Elton battled devastating addictions to cocaine, alcohol, bulimia, and compulsive shopping. He hit rock bottom multiple times, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Despite his massive success, he felt empty. He sought comfort in excess, fleeting relationships, endless parties. He was the classic case of someone who had everything but no peace. It wasn't until the 1990s that he decided to get help. He checked into rehab. He opened up, confronted his demons. And then, he began his second life. More sober, more lucid, stronger yet still unmistakably Elton. From that point on, his career took on a new rhythm. He continued to sell out shows, compose soundtracks, win awards, but he also began using his voice for greater causes, founding the Elton John AIDS Foundation, one of the world's leading organizations in the fight against the disease. He began speaking openly about sexuality, mental health, and addiction. He became a mentor, a symbol, a survivor. As the years went by, Elton embraced aging with a rare mix of humor, vulnerability, and grandeur. He didn't hide the wrinkles or try to be who he once was. He aged on stage and made that part of the performance. In 2023, he completed his final world tour, closing an era with the same passion with which he began. Today, Elton John is more than an artist. He is a benchmark, a living testament that it is possible to fall, get lost, sink, and still resurface more whole than ever before. His story isn't just about music, it's about redemption, about staying true to yourself even when the world tries to break you. And above all, about how love for yourself, for others, for art can be the force that keeps everything standing. Elton isn't just a rocket man, he's an entire constellation, still shining and inspiring night after night. For a long time, Val Kilmer seemed to have it all. Tall, handsome, charismatic, with a powerful voice and a chameleon-like talent, he dominated the screen with a presence that felt inevitable. He started in theater, trained at the prestigious Juilliard School, and quickly transitioned to film, taking on roles that showcased both charm and depth. By the early 90s, he was everywhere, stealing the spotlight as Jim Morrison in The Doors, immortalized as the bold and cocky Iceman in Top Gun, and donning the cape and cowl as the Dark Knight in Batman Forever. Each role was different, but they all had one thing in common: intensity. Kilmer didn't just play characters, he became them. But as his fame grew, so did rumors about difficult behavior on set. Directors and co-stars spoke of demands, mood swings, and obsessive perfectionism. And Val never denied it. He wanted everything to be just right. But in Hollywood, perfectionism and strong personality don't always mix well. Over time, the big roles started to fade. And then, life did what Hollywood couldn't. It silenced Val Kilmer. In the mid-2010, he was diagnosed with throat cancer. The disease progressed aggressively, and the treatments, including a tracheostomy, left him without the voice that once filled movie theaters. Suddenly, the actor who once recited Shakespeare and sang like Morrison could barely speak. He lost weight, his appearance changed, and for a while, he disappeared from the public eye. But Val Kilmer was never one to accept silence. With the help of technology and his family, he began to reappear. He made an autobiographical documentary, Val, where he shared his pain, memories, and scars with raw, touching honesty. In every scene, you could feel the battle between the artist and the man, between past and present, between what was lost and what remained. And then, against all odds, Val returned to the screen in Top Gun: Maverick. Even with speech limitations, he appeared as Iceman one last time. Now vulnerable, aged, yet still carrying that powerful aura. It was a cathartic moment for the audience, and especially for him. Today, Val Kilmer is no longer the flawless heartthrob of the 90s. He is something greater, a symbol of resilience, redemption, and the courage to face life's deepest transformations. Mick Jagger doesn't walk, he glides. Since the 1960s, his slim frame, signature lips, and unmistakable stage moves have become part of the DNA of global music. As the frontman of the Rolling Stones, he was more than a singer. He was the embodiment of what it meant to be young, bold, rebellious, and absolutely untamable. When the Stones emerged, the world was still getting used to the idea of rock. Jagger, with his cheeky charm and raw energy, quickly became the perfect antidote to the Beatles' clean-cut image. He didn't want to be adored. He wanted to be desired, feared, imitated. And he got exactly that. Decade after decade, Mick Jagger remained at the top. Sold-out shows, hit records, scandals absorbed as easily as wardrobe changes. Sex, drugs, fame, romances with models, children across the globe. He lived it all and survived it all, While many of his peers fell, Mick danced on the ruins. But time, the one opponent no one can outwit, began to make itself known. Over the years, his face became more lined, his movements slightly less frantic. Still, well into his 70s, Jagger kept climbing on stage with a vitality that would make any 20-something artist feel lazy. His secret? Discipline. A healthier lifestyle, training routines, laser focus on performance. Behind the wild rocker image, there's a methodical man, almost obsessed with continuing to give everything to his audience. Even so, in 2019, reality struck harder. Mick underwent emergency heart surgery. The world held its breath. Was this the end? Just a few months later, he was back, rehearsing, stretching, running across the stage, as if nothing had happened. Today, Mick Jagger is more than a rock survivor. He is an entity, a living monument who breathes, moves, and continues to write the story of the very genre he helped invent. He has aged in plain view, and rather than fighting it, he's made aging part of the show. Every wrinkle on his face tells a story. Every step on stage says, "I'm still here." Mick Jagger may not be eternal, but he sure seems to be trying and doing a pretty convincing job. During the 1980s and 90s, Richard Dean Anderson was the embodiment of intelligence, courage, and charisma. With his tousled blonde hair, calm smile, and a Swiss Army knife, always in hand, he won over the world as the legendary MacGyver. The man who could solve any problem with duct tape, a paper clip, and pure ingenuity. The character became a cultural phenomenon. MacGyver didn't just entertain, he inspired. Kids wanted to be like him. Adults admired his ability to escape any situation without ever using violence. The name itself became a verb, synonymous with coming up with a clever solution. Over 7 seasons, Richard Dean Anderson was a hero without a cape and without weapons, proving that brains were more powerful than brawn. When MacGyver ended, Richard could have faded away like so many others who get tied to a single role. But he took another path. He reinvented himself as General Jack O'Neill in Stargate, a sci-fi series that became one of the genre's biggest hits, cementing Anderson's place as a powerful presence on television for another decade. Behind the scenes, however, life moved at a different pace. Richard always valued his privacy and avoided the spotlight when he wasn't working. In interviews, he was kind but reserved. He turned down big-budget films in favor of spending time with his daughter, Wiley. For him, family came before fame, a rare choice in Hollywood, and it gradually led him away from the screen. Over time, Richard also faced physical challenges. Injuries accumulated from years of action scenes began to take their toll. Knee and back problems made him decline new roles. He gained weight, let his hair go naturally gray, and embraced aging with grace. Far from the artificial standards of the industry, he never tried to hide who he was or how he looked. Some fans were surprised when they saw him years later, no longer the athletic hero they remembered. But perhaps Richard Dean Anderson's true heroism lies in that choice: to live a simple life, free from the obsession with youth, fame, and perfection. In recent interviews, he speaks with humor and ease about the passing of time, about being slower, older, but at peace. Richard Dean Anderson showed us, first in fiction and later in real life, that true heroes aren't the ones who never age, but the ones who choose to live authentically. He was MacGyver. He was General O'Neill. But above all, he has always remained himself. And maybe that's his most impressive feat of all.